Okay, hello everybody, good afternoon. So Kaiwa's here with me again today at the Elmo Clinic. We're going to be doing tofu stir fry today. Kaiwa, have you ever had tofu before? No. So tofu is a really great plant-based protein. So in my last video, I talked about April being Earth Month, so we're going to try and do some environmentally friendly nutrition recipes this month. And so one that I wanted to introduce was tofu. So we got our tofu here. It's extra firm tofu. There's a wide variety of different tofus that you can find at the store, all different levels of firmness. So we're gonna do extra firm tofu because extra firm is really great for frying, for roasting, for grilling. Other tofus you could get that are good for stir fries too are just the regular old firm tofu. That one you can also skewer it, you can boil it, and then you can get a lot softer tofus too. You can get the soft tofu, you can get the silken tofu, and those tofus are a lot of times just pureed or mixed into things, and you can even use the silken tofu as an egg substitute. So I've seen like pumpkin pie recipes and other different recipes that require eggs, and they substitute tofu in just if you have egg allergy or if you're vegan or vegetarian or don't like eggs. It's a good option for that. So about a 1/4 cup of silken tofu is 1 egg replacement. So tofu is also low in carbohydrates. So for any of the diabetics out there that are working on their carb counting skills, about a 1/2 cup of tofu is only 2 grams of carbs, so that's not even a carb choice. It includes all the essential amino acids, so all the protein that you need to get from food to make sure your body functions correctly. Tofu has all of the essential protein that you need, so it's pretty much just as good as chicken or beef or any other meat. It also is a really great source of iron. So iron, if we don't need enough iron, we can become anemic, we can get really tired and fatigued. So tofu has good iron. It also is a good source of calcium. Calcium is really great for our bone health and making sure we're staying strong. And then it also is a really great source of magnesium and zinc. Zinc ensures that we develop correctly when we're little. It also boosts your immune system and can help with wound healing. So if you have a cut or anything, getting enough zinc in can help your cuts heal. So tofu basically is just fermented soybeans. It's mashed up fermented soybeans. And the way they make it is very similar to how cheese is made. So when we make cheese, we have to separate the curd from the whey. Tofu is basically just bean curd. So it's separated from all the liquid stuff. So we have tofu in our package here. I'm going to show you guys how to break it down. So I'm just going to cut open the package on a couple of sides and we'll drain the liquid out. So most tofu you'll find in the refrigerated section of the grocery store near the produce. So like at Walmart it's near the produce, at Super One it's near the produce. But every time you cook tofu, you want to rinse it and then you want to kind of pat it dry. So I have some paper towels over here just to kind of put some pressure on it, kind of pat it dry. Certain recipes, like you can do like beef jerky tofu, and those recipes where it's like really dried out, sometimes the recipes say to put pressure on it for like a couple hours, so you can just, like I've just stacked heavy books or like pots and pans on top of the tofu and just like left it like that for a couple hours to get it with like a towel or something to collect all the water. But yeah, so you can get a fancy tofu press or you could just use heavy books or kitchen equipment to press on it. But this recipe, we really don't need to drain it that much because we're going to bake it in the oven. So I have the oven set to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And what we're going to do is we're going to dice this tofu up. So I'll just show you how to do a couple of it. We slice it right down the middle, and then we're just going to create little columns like this, and then do it again this way. So then we get tofu blocks about that size. And so we're just gonna put that in the baking dish. So Kaiwa's gonna help me do the cutting. We're gonna put all that in the baking dish and we're gonna bake it for about 20 to 30 minutes until it gets kind of crispy. So you can eat tofu when it's soft. I prefer it when it has a little crispiness to it, then it kind of resembles like chicken a little bit or like a meat. Okay, you want to put it all in here? And tofu really doesn't have a strong flavor at all. It takes on the flavor of whatever you cook it with. So we're gonna bake ours in the oven and then we're gonna mix it with a brown sugar and soy sauce mixture, and it'll kind of take on the flavor of that. So with our stir fry, we're also doing brown rice. So I got our brown rice cooked here. Just gonna taste a couple of kernels, just make sure it's cooked all the way through. No, that's good. All right, we're just gonna stick it in the oven then. Yeah, if you get the softer varieties of tofu, you can crumble it, kind of treat it like hamburger meat. Yeah, it takes on all sorts of different textures, all different flavors.
Did you spray the pan?
Yes, and thank you. So I have an intern watching us today, Teresa. She asked me if I sprayed the pan. Yes, I sprayed the pan with olive oil just so it doesn't stick to the pan. Okay, so next thing that we're gonna do is we got some canola oil in this pan. I'm just gonna turn it on so it's hot. In these bowls, we just have some diced up yellow onion and some really finely diced up serrano peppers. We're gonna first cook those in the hot oil. So serrano peppers are a spicy pepper. They're a little bit spicier than jalapenos. The way to try and reduce the spice is when you cut it up and clean it, get rid of those seeds. The seeds are where a lot of the capsaicin is, the hot chemical in peppers. So if you get rid of the seeds, it will reduce the heat. But these are still pretty spicy even without the seeds. So that's why I chopped them up really small and they're gonna get mixed in with everything. And they have a really nice sort of like refreshing flavor. They're good in drinks too. So we're gonna do that. So why don't you, Kaiwa, dump the onion and the serrano peppers in this pan. Awesome. And another point that I wanted to make with the tofu is the price. So tofu is actually a pretty cheap protein source. So for a block of tofu, which is about 1 pound, and these peppers too. So 1 pound of tofu or a block of tofu goes anywhere from $1.58 to $2.64. Versus if you get a pound of ground beef, that'll run from like $4.13 to $6 depending on how lean. So tofu is a lot cheaper than ground beef and a lot of other protein sources. We're gonna wait on those. So first we're gonna cook our onions and our peppers. So I'll let you kind of stir these up for me, Kaiwa. Those will get hot. We want our onion to look translucent. And then we'll add more ingredients. So I'll put the timer on here. We'll do it for 30 minutes. I'll open it halfway through and kind of stir it up. So our rice is pretty much done. So I'm just gonna scooch this over here for now. And then we have a couple of bowls, so we're gonna be making a sauce that we're gonna mix the tofu in once it's already cooked, and it'll kind of take on the flavor of that sauce. And then we're gonna make another sauce that we're gonna put in our stir fry when everything's mixed together. So yeah, we'll let that cook over about medium heat. So I'm gonna have Kaiwa help me get the tofu sauce started. So we're doing 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and 3.5 tablespoons of brown sugar. So let's do the brown sugar first. Why don't we do it right here where the cutting board is. So you're gonna do 3 of these spoonfuls of brown sugar, okay? Did it knock over? You got it. Okay, so you're gonna do you're gonna pack it in so there's 3 spoonfuls. And then we'll kind of like eyeball a half a spoon. Perfect, so 2 more. So we're using a lower sodium soy sauce, which is good for heart health, right? We don't want to eat too much sodium or salt because that puts us at a higher risk for high blood pressure, perfect, and heart disease. Okay, so now we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of that soy sauce. So this guy right here. So you're gonna do 2 full things, okay? So you gotta fill it all the way up. And it kind of has a weird top, so it kind of comes out a little slow. There you go. Fill it all the way up. It's alright. We make messes when we cook, that means our food is good. Just put a little bit more, yep. Just that much, perfect. Okay. So now, Kiowa, I'm just going to have you mix this together. With the fork here, just kind of mix it all together. And then we're going to save it for when the tofu is done. And our onions are starting to look nice and translucent. In this little bowl, we're going to do basically the same thing, but it's slightly different. We're going to do 1 tablespoon of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce in this little one. Okay. Perfect, thank you for that. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of soy sauce in that one. Okay, and then we need 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. I'll get you a paper towel or napkin. You can just wipe that out, and then 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. In the last video I did, I talked about sort of where a lot of the greenhouse gases in our food system come from, where sort of the biggest contributors to climate change come from. And the biggest food group, perfect, that has the most greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere are red meats and processed meats, a lot of livestock that is grain-fed. Those are the big greenhouse gas contributors. So that's why I wanted to demo tofu, because tofu, like I said, it has all those essential amino acids, all the protein we need, but it's a plant-based source, so it's not going to have as much of a contribution to climate change as beef would, or veal, or pork. So it's a great option if you're trying to work on being a little more sustainable. Okay, that looks good. Perfect. So this sauce we're going to put directly in here, but so what we're going to do is we're going to just dump this in here, kind of scrape it out, mix it with the onions and the peppers. And so this is a Indonesian style stir fry. So there's different kinds of stir fries. This one is more of an Indonesian style. Okay, so you're going to do 1 teaspoon of ketchup. Okay, I'm going to put it in here. Whoopsie. You could do tomato sauce instead of ketchup if you want in. Either way. Okay, so we got that mixed together. We're just going to add the rice now. So the rice is it's going to be kind of like fried rice a little bit, where you have to fry it in the pan once it's cooked. You want to mix this up for me, Kiowa? I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. So generally, you know, most people eat way too much salt or sodium, but that comes from going to restaurants, fast food, or highly processed foods like pizza and sausages. Those kind of foods are where most people eat too much salt or sodium. Adding salt or sodium when you're cooking is really just a tiny contribution. So it's better if you're trying to reduce sodium intake to work on the foods you eat outside the home versus the foods you cook yourself. And I also wanted to do a stir fry for the month of April for environmental friendliness, because stir fries are a great way to try and reduce food waste. So food waste, or food in general, is one of the largest components of all the solid waste that we can find in landfills. And so when food decomposes in a landfill, it releases methane. And methane is a greenhouse gas that has a much larger global warming effect compared to carbon dioxide. So methane is way worse than carbon dioxide in terms of climate change. And that's what food produces when it decomposes in landfills. And when food is decomposing in landfills, it's not completing the nutrient cycle. The nutrients from the food aren't going back into the soil. They're getting stuck in that landfill. So it's really not sustainable. So we want to try and use as much food as we can, eat it if we can. And stir fries are one great way to do that, because you can put in like wilted like spinach or like other produce. If you have some wrinkly bell peppers, just throw it in there, you know. So some older produce is a great way to kind of use that up instead of tossing it and throwing it in the garbage. And when you think about food waste too, not only is that food wasted, but all the water that was needed to grow the crops is wasted. All that labor that went into growing the crops is wasted. So when I was reading about it, it said in the United States, about 25% of fresh water that is used to produce food is totally wasted just because of food waste. 25%. So that's a quarter of the water we use. You know, animals, when we waste food, animals are unnecessarily raised and slaughtered. We spray pesticides, especially if it's non-organic. That pesticide, those chemicals we put into the environment for no reason because that food is wasted. Like I said, the land and the labor, there's waste there. And then there's lost profit for our farmers, for our grocery stores, for our food retail. So in 2010, it was estimated that over $160 billion of food was discarded. That is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So if we can reduce food waste, that's a really great way to try and be more environmentally friendly as well. All right. Maybe one of these days I'll do like a composting demo. That would be pretty fun. Okay, so now we're going to add, we have green onions and water chestnuts in this bowl. We're going to add those in, and we're going to add our pea pods. We have snow pea pods to add. So water chestnuts are a really delicious vegetable. I like to eat them just plain sometimes. They're native to China, India, and the Philippines, and they're grown underwater. Yep, add them all in. They're grown underwater, and it's eating the small round like corn or like little fruit part of the plant is the water chestnut. But they have fiber, they have potassium, they are really good antioxidants, which are chemicals in food naturally, that occur naturally, and they fight cancer. So eating fruits and vegetables with antioxidants will lower your risk of developing cancer. All right, we're just going to mix this together. Thank you, Kyla. I'm just going to put this on low. Let everything heat up. And our snow pea pods, just like most vegetables, they're going to be excellent sources of fiber. They're also really good sources of vitamin C, which keeps our gums healthy. It keeps our immune system healthy. Vitamin A, which keeps our eyes and our skin healthy. Vitamin K, that's the vitamin that helps our blood clot. So if we get a cut and we start bleeding, vitamin K is what makes our blood clot and stop bleeding. So we need vitamin K. Also folate. So folate is one of those B vitamins. It's really important for women to get enough folate, especially if you're pregnant or thinking of becoming pregnant, because folate ensures that your baby's brain and spine develop correctly. If you don't get enough folate when you're pregnant, your baby could develop spina bifida, which is when their spine is on the outside of their skin, and so they have to do surgery, and sometimes those babies don't survive. But pea pods also a good source of protein too. So we're getting tofu protein and we're getting pea pods protein. So 2 plant-based protein sources. We're getting plenty of protein in this dish, even though it is vegetarian. And then pea pods also a good source of zinc, which I talked about helps us develop, and it helps our immune systems stay strong, and it helps us heal from cuts or wounds. So there's lots of good nutrients in this dish. Any questions? You got any questions for me?
Did you add the small bowl of sauce to that?
Oh yes, this one, yeah, this was just the 1 tablespoon of brown sugar and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. I added to this.
And you added it to the sauteed onions
and the peppers.
Sauce.
Yep.
Okay.
Before I added the rice in.
Okay.
And then this reserve of sauce that I had Kaya do that has a little more brown sugar and soy sauce. Once the tofu is nice and done and crispy, we're gonna put it in here, mix it all up, and then dump it in. Yep. And then we'll be done. So we just gotta wait for the tofu to be done cooking. But yeah, it's really great if you can make your own stir fries, your own Chinese food, because a lot of times getting takeout or going to Chinese food restaurants, there's a whole bunch of sodium or salt added to that food. A lot of times the food is fried, so there's extra fat added, saturated fat, which increases your risk of heart disease eating too much of that. So it's really nice if you can learn to cook some of your own foods versus getting takeout all the time. And then this way it's fun. You can add whatever vegetables you want, really. Like I said, any of your produce that's starting to go bad, try and reduce food waste by throwing it in a stir fry. But you can get like the little bamboo shoots, the little corns, bean sprouts, any kind of pepper really. Anything you want. I mean, throw it in here. Stir fries are good for that. Just mix it in, whatever you have. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper to this.
Do Indonesians use bell peppers?
Oh, I actually don't know if bell peppers are native to that area.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't in the recipe, so maybe not.
Yeah.
I'll do a little bit of garlic powder. Garlic powder, onion powders are some of my favorite seasonings to use that don't have salt, and they add really good flavor.
When do you use the sesame oil?
Sesame oil I like to add in because sesame oil is hard to like fry or anything because it just gets rancid, you know, with high heat. So I like to put it in, like we could put it in right now actually if you want to grab it, Kiowa. Towards the end.
It's right here.
Is over here, yeah. Towards the end, just to give it the flavor mostly and kind of add a little bit of liquid to it. Yeah, anytime I've tried to like cook chicken or anything at a high heat with sesame oil, it doesn't work out well. Usually kind of burns.
That's a good idea, I didn't know that.
But I like the flavor of sesame oil.
I do too. No,
And it's one of those more heart-healthy oils too, because it comes from sesame seeds. Yeah, and the only thing with tofu is it does stay, like I have meal prep tofu and it stays in the fridge for pretty good for about a week, you know, and just reheating it and eating it. The only thing is you can't really freeze it, you know, like if you meal prep and then freeze, because it makes it more like crumblier.
Okay.
And it kind of messes with the texture.
Uh-huh.
So I don't usually freeze the tofu.
Okay.
But refrigeration is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what I wanted our tofu to look like. Nice and golden brown. And then it kind of has little crisp on the sides that were on the pan.
That looks good.
So they're nice and golden brown.
They look like breadcrumbs.
Yeah. And then, so we're just gonna put them straight into this bowl with the soy sauce and brown sugar. And then we'll just mix it up so it's nice and coated. And then we'll just add it in there, mix it up, and we'll be good. Ready to eat.
Wow.
Okay, you guys ready to eat? One more time.
Yeah, I want to try this.